protest. All right, so here is three numbers. Their average. You shouldn't need a calculator. What's the average of those three? 25. All right, because it's supposed to be measuring like how far, like kind of what the middle is, except it's not really the middle. The middle is really the what? The median. And what's the median in this case? 25. It's the middle number. So sometimes the mean and the median are the same. But watch what happens when I do this. Mean just went up a lot, right? How about the median? Still the same. So that's what a median is good for, is it keeps you from having to like worry about outliers. If there's a really big number that's an outlier like that, it would throw off your average, but it doesn't throw off the middle number. So the median income is always a good one to use because incomes can vary a lot. Like right here in Minnetonka this year, I bet you there's somebody around here who had like a big year on, like they invested in a stock or something. There's probably somebody this year who made way more than $1 million, way more, probably like 75 million, okay? And some other guy who's, you know, like a truck driver might have made 60,000, and some other guy who just flips hamburgers or whatever might have made like 20,000. And if you figure out an average income, you could say, oh, you live in Minnetonka, the average income there was like $1 million a year. Well, it's because of that one guy who made so much that the average could be $1 million. You know what I mean? But the median income doesn't get thrown off. All right, so now let's actually have you put that in the calculator. If you know where, it should be easy. Under the stat button, you're going to put that in the calculator and figure out, of course, we already know the average. We already know the median, but let's figure out the standard deviation. It feels to me like it should be about 5 because, you know, some of the numbers are off by 5, but is it really 5? Use your calculator and figure out the standard deviation. Pause while you pull that up. Okay, I hit the stat key, which is red on my screen, and then I hit enter on the edit, and then I put in 20 and 25, quiet please, and 30. And I know some of you are like, why didn't, hold on just a second here. My calculator got confused. Deleting that number there. Okay, why didn't, when we went to the stat, calculate one variable stats, why didn't our list give us a, right here, a standard deviation of 5? I mean, this one was off by 5. The first one, the 20, that was off by 5. The 30 was off by 5. But the 25 wasn't off by 5, was it? See what I mean? Not everything was off by 5. So what it does is it kind of figures out the average of how far things were off. 2 of them were off by 5, but 1 of them was off by 0. Okay, so it's not as simple as an average either. That's why we need the calculator to do it. It's complicated. So for what your level, just knowing how to find the standard deviation with a calculator is just fine. So now we got it. I'm going to round that to 4 for the standard deviation. The average was 25, and our STDEV is going to be 4. Would you then figure out the z-score for the 30? 30 has a z-score. Your calculator doesn't have like a fancy, well, it probably does, but we didn't show you how to do z-score on the calculator. You just need to know a formula. You take the 30, you do something to it, and then you do something else to it, and you're done. Do you remember z-score? All right, Dice of Destiny, who should I ask? It is row 4, person 1, that's you. Can you tell me what to do to find the z-score? 30, and then you do what? Subtract the average, and then divide by the standard deviation. That comes out to 5, and then it's 5 divided by 4, and that's 1.25. What about what I'm about to say is wrong? Well, you got to wait till I say it, I guess. Okay. This tells me that they were about 1 standard deviation below average. I was close to right on that, but I wasn't right. I was about 1 standard deviation above average. Why? Because this came out positive. So let's say I had some other mystery numbers. You don't even know what they are. You don't know what the data was. You don't know what the average or the standard deviation was. But you know that your z-score was 2.0. Tell me 2 things you know. If you had a z-score of 2.0, and let's say it's a test, and let's say high scores are good, because there are situations where high scores are bad. You know, your cholesterol score or your... No, yep, in golf you don't want a high number. Or... I didn't raise my hand. Ooh, he's still a little bitter. Still a little bitter. All right, so 2.0 z-score. Were you above average? Yes, in fact, you were quite a bit above average, right? 2 standard deviations above average, okay? And then, is there anything else you could tell me? Ooh, okay. So now I think you're doing this thing where you go like that, right? And then you said we're out 2 standard deviations. All right. So how about you give me those numbers next? Here's a chart. And I want to know if we go out not 1 standard deviation, but 2 standard deviations in both directions, how much of the data would be between those 2 lines? Don't say it, write it. How much of the data, or the people, would be between 2 standard deviations in either direction? Raise your hand if you knew it was 95. You are right. Awesome. Okay, some things to hand out. Pausing for a moment. Okay, so what were the other numbers? This one would have been 68. This one would be 95. The hardest one to remember for me is the last one. What's the last one? You got 3 standard deviations. 99.7, very good. Okay, and now let's do like, let's say that this is a class and you are way up here. You rocked whatever this thing was. Maybe it's an IQ test or something. Okay. On an IQ test, a 100 would be the average. And let's say that you were at, oh, let's say this, I don't know what the standard deviation is on human intelligence, but I'm just going to make one up. Let's say that if 100 is the average, let's say that the standard deviation is 8. And here's my question. What do you have to be in the 90th percentile for IQ? There's a program on your calculator where you'd put in the 90th percentile and tell it some other stuff, and it'll tell you what you need. Remember, on IQ, the 100 is the average. We're saying the standard deviation is 8. If anybody has already finished with that, if you would take a moment and just see if anybody has documented what the standard deviation for IQ is, I would like to know it so we could actually use the real number. I'll pause for a second while we figure this out. What I asked was, what puts you in the top 10%, also known as the 90th percentile? Okay, so some kids looked it up. We're going to change the standard deviation in a minute to the right answer. But for right now, if you use a standard deviation of 8, you should be doing something called inverse normal. And this little function on your calculator asks you to put some stuff in parentheses then. What do you need to know? The percentile. I asked for 90th percentile. What if you had said 10th percentile on the right? There is some of you, I don't even know why, some of the calculators have this left, right, or center thing. Okay? The way I'm always doing them is with left. And if we say 90, we're saying from the left over to 90. And if you wanted to, you could say it's from the right over 10. Do you get what I'm saying? So if you've got the left, right, center thing, if you always just do it left and then use like the 90th percentile for the top 10%, it'll work. All right, so then I need 100 here and then the standard deviation of 8. Using these numbers, what did you get? What IQ would you need to be in the top 10% of humans? 100 and what? 110 point what? All right, that put you in the top 10%. But I was wrong when I guessed my standard deviation. I was making something up. And you looked it up, and people say the standard deviation is 15. Did I hear that right? Yes. All right. Everybody just change that one number, and it'll totally change our answer because there's more spread. So that means you probably need a higher IQ to be in that top 10%. Standard deviation is 15. Okay, so what do you need now to be in the top 10%? What'd you get?
119.
All right. So you'd need an IQ of about 120 to be in the top 10%. Or 119. Make sense? All right, if you weren't able to do that, you should talk to me about that during the last 10 minutes of class time here. It'd be great if you'd ask me now, but I know some people don't want to ask in front of the group. So, all right, so that was inverse normal. How about, I'm going to use the same data here for the IQ. We're going to use the same standard deviation and the same, but I want to do a different question. Instead of giving it a percent, like I want to be 90th percentile, what if I said I got a score of 112 for my IQ? What could we do with that CDF thing? What would that figure out for us if we do CDF with 100 and, what did I say, 112? 112. Well, I actually need to tell you this. What do I need to tell you to be able for you to answer this? Because you can't just do a CDF with a 112. It doesn't do anything. Do you get we need a something and a something? What? A maximum and a minimum. Okay, so what if I said 112 and up, and it's going to return a percentage, and it's going to say this percent of people have 112 or up. Get what I'm saying? Okay, so we're going to say 112 and up. You figure out what to put there. And then it's 100 for an average and a standard deviation of 15. Well, 112 and up, what do you put for the and up? Well, you're setting a limit. 112 is the lower limit. What's the upper limit? You just put in a really big number, like 9999999. Or 99 times 10 to the 99th or something like that. If you really want to go extreme, put a really big number in. All right. And random person. This is row 1, person 1. That's you in this case. You're right. You're saying she has snake eyes? That's really mean. All right. Keep going. Point 2, 1, 2. That means about 21%. Raise your hand if you had the same thing. Okay, good. So that means, would it be safe to say that I'm in the top 21% of the group? Percentile of the group? Okay.
No, I was talking to
All right. Anyway, so I think we've covered everything that you could possibly need to know now for your little homework quiz that we're going to start right now. It is a little on the longish side, I got to warn you. So you're going to have a lot of time in class to do this. So please look on Schoology right now. This is not going to count in the 85% like a test. It is going to count in the homework. We don't have that many things in the homework. So that means it still matters. It'll still affect your grade. Same with most Schoology quizzes. You get 2 shots at it. And you get the average of them. Okay? After you finish it the first time, you will get the answers. So you can understand where you went wrong and whatever. But you can't just go put the answers in and get the higher of the 2 scores. You get the average. So try hard the first time too. One question I get asked a lot is on like the second question. People assume that the answers must come out to decimals. Actually, it's crafted so that the numbers aren't decimals. They are exact whole numbers. So if you're getting decimals, then that means you're doing something wrong. And it's usually just typing in one number wrong into your L1 list. There's a bunch of numbers. You type one of them wrong, your averages will come up to decimals, then you'll be asking me, what do I round to? If you're asking that question, you did it wrong, because it should be whole number answers. Okay? Any other questions? This is the Schoology quiz that's in there with today's files. Yes. Same. Actually, did not promise to do it the same way as the others. This might just simply go in as a score, but I might put it as a score out of something less than whatever it is. I think there's 13 questions, and I might put it in out of 12. So people that get a 12 out of 13 would still have a perfect. Anyway. Okay. So bottom line, do as well as you can, and you get 2 shots at it. And your only other homework for tonight is there is a review packet now that's posted. It's in the chapter review folder. It's got review for the semester 2 final on it, and it's the red folder now. It's the last folder, the last melon. So once you're in there, go do that last assignment, which is huge. All I'm asking you to do is 5 problems on it tonight. I just want you to kind of break into it, get started. And then we got a lot of time tomorrow and the next day to get further. Okay? So your homework for tonight is this quiz you're doing right now. And then do 5 problems from the review packet. That's all I got for you for today.